Hey everyone, welcome back to the third episode of Glad with Dad. My name's Harrison and I'm joined with my dad.
My name's Alan, I'm Harrison's dad.
Yep. So we're lucky to have you here. Keen to be doing this again. In today's episode we're going to be talking about the struggle of staying in the present, some struggles we've had personally with it, and also some different techniques to help stay in the present at the end of the episode, so stick in for that. But just before we get into it, I'm just going to quickly describe what the present is. So the present is the only real time. It's the time in between the past and the future. The past is made up from our memories and stuff like that. So it's not real. Our past is a makeup of our memories, and the future is just our assumptions of what's going to happen next. But the only real time is the present, and we want to be in the present because we want to be living real life. So,
that's right.
Yeah. But yeah, we'll get into it. So what are some struggles you've had with staying in the present?
Yeah, well, just like you were saying, I fluctuate from the past to the future, really. And some of it
Fear.
I had the guilt of the past,
Yep.
of past mistakes,
Yeah.
and the self-condemnation that we discussed the other session came into play with that.
Yeah.
And then I had the fear of the future, So I was constantly going from the past to the future, and it was like I said, nearly impossible, And at the same time, I had to actually clean up my past to make it easier to live in the present, So
you'd have to go back and apologise or try and
whatever
make amends
in some form.
In some form, yeah.
100%.
Because you can't always do it with the person.
No, that's right.
But
Sometimes it's going to cause more harm, so
Yeah.
I would have to just,
and sometimes it comes. Sometimes it comes just from a selfish place where you're just trying to help yourself.
100%.
And then usually it doesn't turn out well.
Yeah, that's right. So it was for me nearly impossible until I clean up the past, because I keep going there, and because I found it hard to live with the past, I project into the future. It was just my coping mechanism, which obviously didn't work.
Yeah, it doesn't.
And it didn't until I cleaned up the majority of my past.
Yeah.
Some things I couldn't, but I cleaned up the best that I could.
Yeah.
Which made it a lot easier. What about yourself?
Well, some of the struggles I had was definitely like in school with schoolwork, and then also just outside of class in school with just bullying and stuff. Bullying kind of it made me it kind of gave me this distrust in others. It was pretty much the main reason that I was able to stay in the present. One of the only reasons I could stay in the present was because of my distrust in others. So because I was being hurt all the time, I'd need to be vigilant, but
on high alert.
Yeah. And so it was either that level, so I was either staying in the present to protect myself, or I was out of the present, I was in my own head because I was dissociating, because I didn't want to be in, I didn't want to
it's too painful.
Too painful to deal with what was even happening in the present. So I just dissociate.
And so many people find that very difficult to live in the present because of that.
Yeah.
Especially if you've had major trauma in your life. It's like, how do you stay in the present without going back into your trauma? Without professional help of some form, it's nearly impossible, I would say.
Yeah, nearly, but nothing. I don't think it's definitely not.
Nothing's impossible, of course. But I'm saying without some guidance of like if I think like I always thought, I always do what I always done.
Yeah. And
I'll get what I always got, which is
100%.
Not living in the present.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah, definitely not.
Far from it.
Yeah.
And same for me. I would deny what I was feeling, thinking that would fix it. You know.
Yeah.
That was my. You said you dissociated.
Yeah.
Well, me, I would just deny it. It's the same
Denying.
thing.
Yeah. Well, not the same thing, but denying it is like it's similar. It's well, you're living in a reality that's not real, so you don't have to face what is real.
Yeah, 100%. And
living in a story.
And I'd keep busy too. How I wouldn't have to really. That helped me actually.
Yeah.
Keeping busy helped me live. Especially I love carpentry, you know, because I wasn't sure what I was doing. So I would I learned to listen to the quiet voice within me, the intuition to guide me in making stuff. You know, I had the basic ideas of woodworking, but I enjoyed listening to that. That helped me live in the present. I always enjoyed that. You know.
Definitely.
You know, and like it really made it hard to enjoy anything. Not being able to live in the present.
Well, if you're not in the present, you can't because it's not there. All you can do is reminisce on the memories that have already happened, and memories are never as clear as the present.
And if they weren't too pleasant, you ain't going to be enjoying yourself either, are you?
Definitely.
You know, it was really hard. And now I also found like riding my motorbike, that helped me to live in the present.
Well, you have to be in the present.
Oh man, or you're dead.
Yeah.
You know, you don't live in the present. I actually fell asleep on the bike.
What?
Yes, I was doing 100 k's and I fell asleep on the bike.
How?
I just did. I was tired, you know, and I found out, you know, they say just before you arrive somewhere is a dangerous time because you let your guard down, you relax.
Yeah, heaps of crashes happen like 2 blocks away from people's houses.
But it's not just then, it's when you just take off too, shortly after.
Yeah.
So I was riding from my bike from Gold Coast to Melbourne, and you know, a couple of hours out, I relaxed and it was like, now everything's done, now I can relax. And I actually, you know, I was under the pump until then. I fell asleep, so I just count myself so blessed. I'm still here. You know?
Wow. What happened? Did you?
I just come to,
and
then I just pulled over. I was in.
Were you swerved when you came to?
I was
still straight.
I was on the other side of the road actually, doing 100 k's, you know, upright on my motorbike, and so I pulled over to the next town, found an empty block of land, and just had a crash until I woke up, and
Lucky.
About an hour later, and then I was right to go. But so I now am aware of those danger things in my life. So if I go for a decent ride, I make sure that I'm rested up.
Yeah, so you can stay in the present.
On high alert.
Yeah, definitely. Oh, cool.
You know, we all have different ways. You know.
Yeah, well, ADHD is like something that like affected me with staying in the present as well, because what ADHD is it's you have a lack of dopamine in your brain, so you're trying to find heaps of things to stimulate you, and so you're looking around everywhere, you're fiddling, you're talking to people. That's your way of stimulating yourself because you're constantly like bored in quotation marks.
Yeah.
So you know that definitely had an effect on me, but it was more than that kept me out of the present. So,
and you know, like for me, I always thought too, if I have this or I have that, or if I get her or whatever,
you're living in the chase.
It was always in when I get this or when I arrive there, I'm going to be alright. So I was always in the future thinking. Yeah. So you know.
Everyone though that's in that, once they arrive to that destination, even if it's like something great, like boxing champion, or you know, have $1 million or anything, it's never enough. Yeah,
and like I remember watching Mike Tyson talk there one time. He talked about, you know, being rich, and you know, when I'm rich, well then I'll be happy, you know.
Yeah.
And then when you get there, and you're not. It's like, it's a hard place
I think
to be.
Mike Tyson has said that he felt more free when he was broke than when he was rich.
Yeah. Because he had less things on his mind?
Yeah, well, it was either that or he had less expectations of what his day needed to be like to fulfill him. because when you don't have that money, that's that's what happens.
Yeah, well, it'd be true.
Mm.
It would be. But, it's just a conditioning of the mind, really.
Yeah, 100%.
It's whatever you're used to, like they talk about, it's not the want, the having money is a problem. It's, the having to have it to be able to exist would be more of a problem.
Yeah, definitely.
We all need money, of course, to survive, but having to have so much to be happy.
Yeah.
Well, that's the lie in itself.
100%.
And it's amazing. We sold that. That idea was sold.
From the get-go.
Not only that, we can be manipulated so much with that idea of, when you get this, you're going to be happy. But
yeah,
it's amazing how this all
Definitely.
happens.
Definitely.
In what way have you felt being manipulated by thinking when we have this or when we have that?
Oh, well, it was definitely like at the very earliest memories is probably in primary school. I'd see like I'd see rich people in, I don't know, either on billboards or I don't know, wherever I saw really rich people and all the stuff they would have. And I thought that stuff was going to give me happiness. And whenever I'd ask my teacher or something, I would ask them, how do I get that? They'd say you have to work really hard at doing these specific things, which pretty much are things that, help the system. Doesn't really help me, and it wasn't really truly what was going to get me those things. It's like most people, when they finish a university degree, or even if they're not doing a university degree, most people they're not going to get those millions of dollars.
No.
But
they're going to live a decent part of a life.
You can definitely live a
100%.
great life with barely any money.
Yeah.
But if you think that things are going to bring you happiness, then you won't be happy with barely any money. Well, you won't even be happy when you have the money, because you'll realize that that's not true.
Yeah.
So, so it's primary school conditioning with getting no regular job.
No. That chase drove me so hard that I've broken my back twice.
Yeah,
With
I
that
was
drive.
there. I was there when I saw one of them happen. Actually,
with that drive to succeed, that drive to arrive really.
But there is no arrival in life.
Man,
it's a constant journey.
Yeah, and I thought I was going to arrive really, and that's a hard place to come away from. How do you get away from that? I had to come to some kind of acceptance within myself that I'm okay and my future's going to be okay. How do you do that when you're relying on your mind? Because that's what that is.
Yeah, 100%.
That's what projects me into the future and into the past is my mind.
Yeah.
And when that's all you've got, man, you're in trouble, I think. Well, I was, put it that way. I'm not saying everyone is, because some people got the intellectual minds to be able to maybe manage that and work their way out of it. I just didn't, so it made it very hard for me,
Yeah. So what did you have?
I had to find trust first.
Yeah.
A trust in first in another person.
Yeah.
I remember
Before yourself?
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
I didn't trust myself.
Yeah.
Well, it's like trying to fix my thinking with my thinking.
Yeah.
It's nearly impossible.
Yeah, definitely.
But
Ego battle.
I remember trusting a mate of mine with something that I found hard to live with, and Jesus, he brought it up. He brought it up in the company of others. Not that he mentioned my name or it was me, but he brought the subject up. And from that moment on, I shut down on everybody.
Because you put yourself out there and you shut it straight down.
Yeah, so that was really that. So I had to learn to trust, somebody else, and I did after, about 10 years it took, And then that trust come from, then I found a power greater than myself, which, I rely upon, and helps me to live in the now, really. I couldn't do without it, to be honest, about the trust, because I'll be constantly trying to work it all out.
Yeah,
my mind would want to, see what it looks like always. You know?
Yeah,
so,
you want to have
what
it
do you got
in front of you.
If you've got not good experiences from your past, you're going to project that past into your future.
Yeah, 100%. Our way of thinking brings so much into our life, like that we feel like we can think like shit and treat people and ourselves like shit constantly and expect good things to come.
Yeah.
But it won't, because that's you putting a negative energy out into the world, so it's going to come straight back. It sounds all heebie-jeebie to a lot of people, but it's so true. If you're only putting negative things out there, or even if they're only to yourself, and you're not putting anything out there to other people, that's still all negative.
Yeah.
Because so you should expect to have negative things come back in return.
Yeah. Like they call it, like I had to learn to listen to the quiet voice. They call it a quiet voice for a reason, because it's quiet.
Yeah.
Now, if you've got the chatter of 1,000 voices in your mind, it's hard to listen to the quiet voice, because the chatters are,
so much stronger.
Oh, yeah, and it's not just my thoughts as well. It's the input I've allowed other people back into my mind to be able to have an influence on my thinking. And it's back to one of the things we've talked about before, is allowing people to have opinions on my life without questioning them. And like so many people give unsolicited advice as well.
Yeah, it's so easy to do it too.
Oh, jeez. Yeah. And online's the worst. Online is the worst for that.
Oh, fuck yeah.
100%. For unsolicited advice.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
Well, half the time, it's like with unsolicited advice, it's like online, you don't know half the story, usually. On top of that, you don't even know if they want your advice. And with online, it's hard to even ask them.
Yeah.
Because it's not just instant ask and get it back. So most people just take the obligation, okay, I can't ask them, so I'm just going to give it to them. Their choice to listen to it.
And, there's also the thing of, as being a male, we're fixers as well.
Yeah.
So, with that too, we're inclined to want to fix something if somebody tells us something rather than listen,
Yeah.
So, we've got to, for me, I've had to learn to pull that back a bit.
Yeah.
Because not everyone wants it fixed, they just want somebody
to listen
to them,
and understand them.
Yeah, and that's,
empathy and, that's all people need a lot of the time.
Yeah, it's, and, like they talk about the present as, like a gift. If you look at a gift, it's usually wrapped up like a present.
Yeah.
And that's how valuable the present actually is.
Yeah.
It is a gift. To be able to live in the present, to have peace of mind, like I never knew what that was like until some years ago now, but I have a lot more of that now in my life than I did. But as a young man, I was tortured in my mind.
Yeah.
And I didn't know how to get out of that, because I didn't know how to trust. So, that's why I said at the beginning it's nearly impossible for me to live in the present, because I didn't have the trust in anybody.
Yeah.
It was really. What about you?
Yeah. Well, with me, what I had to do is I'd make excuses as to why things weren't going my way, instead of looking into myself. So, like any problems I'd have, was staying in the present. A lot of the time, they were like put on. Wait.
That's right.
Yeah. sorry. I'm just a bit lost my words there. Whenever I had problems staying in the present, I'd make excuses as to why things weren't going well.
Yeah.
Because looking into myself was harder.
Yeah.
Because that's where you have to let go of trying to be good all the time, because you aren't good all the time.
And like it's pretty hard to look at yourself if you haven't got somebody that you can talk to. Because sometimes looking at yourself, you don't like what you see.
Yeah.
So if you don't have anyone you can talk to,
Yeah.
they can't help you to get out of that self-condemnation.
Definitely.
So it makes it even harder again.
Yeah.
Really.
100%. Yeah. Well, what I had to do is I had to rewire my brain while staying in the present. Instead of, because of having distrust in others, that was the main reason.
Find different pathways.
Yeah, I had to find different ways to do it, because it was the only real thing at the start that was keeping me in the present was my distrust in others. But what I had to find was how I could stay in the present to enrich my life, like with meaningful connections with other people,
So
myself, the environment.
How did that start?
How did it start?
In the way of trusting.
Trusting.
Who was the first person that you trusted?
Who was the first person that I trusted? Probably my best mate, Jai. Yeah. He was definitely he was around pretty much since I was 6 years old, being my best mate, and he was the first person I could trust. So I could I could be vulnerable with him, and tell him what was going on. That would be my person to get out.
So that helped you to live in the present?
Definitely.
By having that trust.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah.
And what about like other forms of living in the now? What have you learned any practices?
Any techniques?
Yeah.
Well, I sorry, I turned my phone on silent. Well, meditation. Meditation's a great one. So if you want to get started in meditation, guided meditation is the way to go. There's different apps for it: Headspace, Balance, things like that. Guided meditations are great because you just concentrate on your breathing usually, and you get some space in your mind from the chatter. The chatter of
I remember doing one where you actually go through your body and you concentrate on your body.
There's so many different types of meditation.
And I found that was fantastic.
The warm water on your hands while you're washing the dishes, or feel the weight of the laundry that you're picking up. Just very simple things, but practicing those daily makes it a lot easier to, when needed, to stay in the present instead of fearing about the past or the future or something like that. Yeah,
I found like taking a daily inventory of my day helped me more to live in the now, because I wasn't carrying sort of yesterday's stuff into tomorrow.
So explain what an inventory is.
Well, just having a look at my day and what I'd done right, what I hadn't done right, had I offended anybody, what could I have done better, sort of, was I thinking about myself most of the day, or was I thinking of
That's a great thing to do.
What I could contribute to life, you know.
It makes you so much more aware of what you're doing.
Yeah, and with this though, I need to learn to let go of self-condemnation with that. That was critical, or else I had to stop it at one time.
Self-condemnation?
Like you're giving yourself a hard time for things that you hadn't done perfect for that day, you know. I had to stop taking inventory at one stage because the self-condemnation was
too strong,
too great. Yeah, because I didn't know how to forgive myself for not being perfect. Really. Yeah, that's what it gets down to. Isn't it? Pretty much. You know, it's like, and I didn't. I had to clean up stuff too, and sometimes there was an unwillingness within me of wanting to clean up my mistakes in the day. If I've offended somebody or done something wrong, or I didn't particularly want to do it. Yeah, because you I liked the present. Yeah, I like the gift that the present gives me. So over time, that's allowed me to crave it more than anything. So that desire to have that peace within myself has become stronger than the desire not to face up. which
Yeah.
it's which is got to. You're not going to do that unless you start to experience it.
Yeah.
No, you're going to. For me, I kept on going back into my mind. So
Definitely.
there's nearly no hope of living in the present
Yeah.
with that kind of thinking, really.
Yeah. 100%.
That's just something. Now, we must make a disclaimer here. We don't know everything, right, about what we talk about.
Yeah.
No,
We're not.
We're not experts.
all-knowing
We're just here
beings.
sharing our experience, you know.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
just want to clarify that too.
Yeah, that's a good thing to say. Well, another thing that I would do is whenever I'd have a thought about something, I'd explore it. Not to the point where, like, if I was doing something important, I'd distract myself to explore a thought. But, like, say a thought that reoccurs in my brain, that something, say if it's negative, right? Instead of shutting it down, because every time you shut it down, it gets stronger and stronger.
Yeah.
So you have to face it and explore it. You know, really explore what that thought is, why you're having that thought. You know, what emotions come with that. Where did that come from? You know, all those sorts of things. Because
would you find, like, too, you'd have to, you know, for me, I've got to be careful of that I don't feed it too much. So when I've been looking at myself in any way, I had to look at it in a bullet point view, like quickly get to the point.
Yeah.
If I stayed in the story too long, it was harder to get out of it. No?
Yeah,
like there's a, you know,
like quicksand.
Yeah, well, like they talk about the soldiers in the war. You know, while they were in an open field, they were easy to be scattered, you know, and killed. Once they dug in as a trench, they were a lot harder, and that's the same with our thinking. That's what I found, you know. So for me, I try not to give it too much emotion, too much thought in the way of when I'm examining myself. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I get what you mean. Definitely, yeah.
Because it makes it harder to get out of that thought.
Yeah,
pattern.
you can't. Yeah,
You know?
you can't be constantly just when you're thinking and say a bad thought comes up. You can't be thinking too in depth to the point where you start.
Despair.
Yeah, you're
really?
in despair.
Yeah.
Yeah, because
And
that.
how do you get out of that?
Yeah, it's a lot harder than before.
That's right.
Yeah.
So.
And if you're not ready for when a thought comes, like if you need something else to be done first, do that other thing. You know, you don't face on the biggest traumas of your life straight away.
No.
That's not what we're recommending at all.
And I'm fortunate enough. I've got, you know, a handful of people that I can ring and talk and unload that stuff and move on with my day quickly.
Yeah.
You know, without that, like, I'd be stuck in a thing. Now, sometimes I know it's not appropriate to be ringing somebody, you know, and discussing and unloading my thinking. So for me, I just commit to the fact that I'm going to, as soon as the appropriate time comes, and I have the freedom as if I have.
Yeah.
You know, if that, you know,
that
that's
makes
just a
sense.
skill that I've learned over the years. You know, it seems to help me, and I've been able to pass that on to others.
Yeah.
It seems to help them. You know?
Yeah.
But it's a practice, it's like anything.
Yeah. 100%. Yeah. Well, I learned that staying in the present was my only way to get a break from what's happening in my mind. So I had to learn these techniques, and I really believe that everyone should be trying to stay in the present as often as possible, because that is the only real time. But
and you know, I'm sure, you know, this is not the only way of doing that.
there's heaps of ways.
You know, we wish you all the best in your journey of finding your own present. Really.
Yeah, definitely.
Unwrapping that present, because it's the best. You know. And
it is.
I hope to experience more and more of it, and really appreciate you joining us here today.
Yeah, really appreciate it.
And if you don't mind, if you've found something that you've enjoyed or benefited from it, if you could like, share, comment, and follow us, that would mean the world to us. So
100%.
thanks again for joining us.
Yeah,
we'll
really
see you
appreciate
in the next
it.
episode.
Yeah, we'll see you in the next one. Bye.
Bye for now.